Alrighty, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of You Know What? Because it's Friday. It's almost the weekend. It's about that time. Perusing the internet's finest of those who are trapped and cannot escape American bubble. Oh boy, do we got some doozies today. This should be good. Here we go. All right, first up, I fear is something we just see all too often online. I can't imagine how much this happens not being documented just in real life on, I don't know, maybe a daily basis. American tourists, now, God bless them, right? But some of them are just not good at being tourists. And there is such a thing. There is such a thing as being a good tourist and a bad tourist. And one of the mistakes as old as time is Americans going abroad and expecting to pay everything in those American dollars. I don't know why they think this. It's very bizarre. So here is the post in question. I've always paid with American dollars at McDonald's in Puerto Rico and Cancun. Now keep in mind, Puerto Rico is a very close ties with the U.S. It's a U.S. territory. They use American dollars there. Cancun is part of Mexico, although it is probably the most tourist place in Mexico, if not one of the top. And there are plenty of United States residents that go there on vacation on a very consistent basis. So there is dollars and pesos floating around there. So because of so much traffic, they're probably okay with taking dollars there. But those are two very specific examples. The rest of the world doesn't quite work like that. Anyway, they continue, but in Europe, it's suddenly all an issue. The U.S. is losing grip to China as being the world's global superpower, thanks to Joe Biden and his woke cabinet. I'm glad Trump got reelected. Trump and Elon going to put an end to this nonsense. All right, so weird political spin there. I don't think one of Trump's policies involves changing the euro in Europe as the standard denomination and switching it to dollars. Call me crazy, but I don't think that's on any U.S. president's radar, nor should it be. Yes, they use euros in Europe. What a thought. You can see the euro symbol right there. Basically, this is hilarious and frightening that someone thinks that they could be all the way over in the Netherlands and they should be able to use American dollars and nothing else. How dare you guys? You're so inconsiderate. For the record, the real itself was her complaining she couldn't pay in American dollars in Amsterdam McDonald's, as we figured out. I used to live in China, and we had some pretty shitty recruiters at one point. I say that because people would send me folks from the U.S. who were genuinely shocked that they couldn't use U.S. dollars at Subway in China. Imagine being all the way across the world in China, nowhere near the U.S., and expecting to pull out some greenbacks from the U.S., some 20s, some Benjamins, and being shocked that they're like, we don't take that. What is that? It was amazing to meet them in real life. They near always failed probation. Yeah, that is pretty remarkable, honestly. Puerto Rico is in the U.S. Of course it is. That is crazy. Yes, the Chinese euro. All right, moving on. This one's good. Make sure you strap in for this one. An opinion poll indicated on Tuesday that 85% of Greenlanders do not wish their Arctic island, a semi-autonomous Danish territory, to, and it actually doesn't show it, but we're going to assume basically to join the U.S. or whatever, right? So here is the article head, and the first comment that shows up. Well, they don't get to vote on the matter, so who cares? Pretty sure, I mean, call me crazy. I'm not an expert in geopolitics, and I'm not an expert in how governments communicate and go about diplomatic processes, off the top of my head. I'm not a, expert, but using common sense, I would probably gather that Greenland, residents of Greenland, they probably do vote. As a matter of fact, I'm going to say they do vote and have a say in what happens when it comes to their relationship with Denmark, the U.S., anyone, right? They live there. Yeah, they live there, and I think they do vote on, kind of big-time plans for their future. Just throwing that out there. Maybe I'm crazy. Again, most Americans are just normal people. We're just living our life. Some Americans are even really open-minded, like myself. Then you have these people. These people are an American on a whole nother level. I'll admit, their thought processes are beyond understanding. All right, now this one really blows my mind. Check this one out. On a map about which way European traffic lights are walking, idiotic icons guy gets a good point made against him. Let's check it out. So you can see the map shows different icons for, I guess, like we said, walking, traffic icons, don't walk. And they're universal icons, which if you didn't already piece together is pretty smart because they transcend language. You don't have to know all these different languages in different European countries to understand simple signage. But of course, the trapped in a bubble American says back in better days, New York City traffic lights, spell check, by the way, missed that. Lights had the words walk and don't walk instead of the idiotic icons. They disappeared almost overnight. What is this guy talking about, man? The idiotic icons. Idiotic icons until you go on a foreign trip and end up on a crossing telling you to siga and per, stolj and ids. And I probably said those wrong. But hey, my point is I wouldn't know how to read or know what things mean necessarily in a bunch of different countries, not knowing any languages, right, fluently, European languages other than English. And so their point is a perfect point. The icons are the opposite of idiotic. They're extremely smart and they're user-friendly. You don't have to be fluent in Polish or Slovakian or Greek or Austrian to understand the signs, because look at all these countries, they use pretty universal signage. And this is something I've seen in previous videos, something I've learned about. I think it's really cool. And of course, it's really smart when you're dealing with a region that has so many different languages in, rapidly changing areas. Make this make sense. That the hate for the icons, man. Make it make sense. Icons are just better for anything safety related. Don't need to know how to read. Get the point across instantly. Grabs your attention way better than words. Exactly. Now, here is a wild take comparing traveling within the U.S., of course, because, right, the U.S. has 50 states, 48 in the mainland, right? And there's a lot to see, you could say. It's fun for road tripping. It is. I can vouch for that. But you could also do this in Europe as well, right? You essentially have all these different countries right next to each other that have their own culture and language. And, different things to see, different foods to try. It's like a different feel every time you go to a different country. And since they're all right there, it's kind of comparable in a way to how the U.S. feels. Let's say similar but different, right? Well, this guy's got a hot take, and he thinks the U.S. does it better, and Europe, it's got it all messed up. Every state in the United States has its own set of laws, its own culture, its own food. The difference is we don't need a passport to go from one state to another. Europe should have went that route for easier travels. Now, I'm an American, and even I know that Europe has the EU. Second of all, it has more specifically I believe it's the Schengen zone, right? It says it right here. Who's going to tell them about Schengen? You could literally drive the speed limit and boom, cross the border from Germany into Poland, from France into Germany, from Switzerland into Italy, right? Like, it's not a big deal. I've seen it. I've seen it go down on video. Just like you're driving from Illinois to Iowa to Nebraska to Wyoming. Smooth sailing. Now, technically, some states, depending on their location, might make a fuss at the border of another state. So technically, he's wrong. Some U.S. states will give you issues. California is known for this, going in and out. How can you be that wrong? Britain needs our tax money and economy. They better change it on their map. Same with Mexico. What the Dude, what are they talking about? I got to see the comments on this. I'm not good with renaming stuff, first of all. I still call the Sears Tower. Big, famous, tall, building in Chicago. They've changed the name a million times. A lot of famous ballparks. If you're into American sports, your favorite team, they might change the name of their stadium multiple times. It's hard to keep up. I'm not good with the renaming stuff. Look, sorry to burst anyone's bubble, but the Gulf of Mexico is still going to be the Gulf of Mexico. Gulf of America all of a sudden. Yeah, most people, A, aren't going to be on board with it, or B, they're not even going to remember it, right? So that's not even the big deal from this post, though, because, like I said, most people aren't going to worry about that. It's this guy that's like, oh, but they will. Just watch. Britain needs our tax money and economy. What the hell is he talking about? Why would my tax money in the U.S. be going to Britain? Their economy runs off of ours directly? I think they got their own taxes and economy. It's a pretty established place. Why do they think we get their taxes? I'm so confused about this. They don't understand what they are or what they do because the context they learn about it is in a form of propaganda and slander. They know that nothing prevents us from calling them Northern Mexico while we're at it, right? All right, so we have a post about cheese. First of all, they're cutting cheese with the knife. Search Scandinavian cheese slicer. Okay, Scandinavia, cheese slicer, cool. Scandinavian means not from the U.S. Just throwing that out there for anyone confused. And here we go. Cheese was invented here in the U.S. We can cut it however we want. There are cheeses older than our country from not the U.S. Come on, certainly everyone knows that, right? There is no way. Like, does every region, every country have maybe their own, famous cheeses, their own favorite, types of cheese, different uses in different varieties of cheese that, is famous to that area? Sure. Cheese is like a really big deal, for example, in the U.S. state of Wisconsin, right above where I am. It's like really a big deal up there. They take it very seriously, and they're famous for it here in the U.S. I don't know if they're famous for it on a world scale. I would assume probably not. But I can tell you one thing. They are passionate about cheese, and they're famous for it around here. But they don't sit there saying that they invented it. They didn't invent cheese. Well, one annoying thing that pretty much most people have had to deal with at one time or another is, of course, propaganda. American propaganda is very bizarre, and it goes back. It's nothing new. Look at this. What has he done to deserve this? An anti-metric system poster from the U.S., 1917. Now, of course, I wasn't around when this was being shown, to the wonderful people of the U.S., but boy, oh boy, a ball and chain for the metric system? What? Can someone explain this? I don't get it. By the way, I always go back to this, but there are so many hilarious and ironic ways that we actually use the metric system a lot more than you'd think here in the U.S. We just can't say we use it, which is funny. And, day-to-day things, there are certain things we don't use it for, but there's a lot that we do use it for. But for some reason, it's just un-American to embrace the metric system. Now, this one is absolutely hilarious because I would do anything to go back to the 90s and 2000s. That's the premise of this one. Check it out. All stereotypes about Americans the Europeans use were true in the 90s and 2000s. They have no idea what we are like now. Let me tell you, someone that has lived here for 32 years, America was a lot better in the 90s. That's it. There's no other way to cut it. It's a pretty common agreement that most people here have. The American dream is almost impossible now compared to what it was in the 90s, right? More people had more money, more time. People were closer, like in real life. It was a lot safer outside. I was playing outside all the time. Pretty sure that if we Europeans stick to the 90s, 2000s stereotypes, we would be more favorable and positive views on them, contrary to today. Exactly. I think one of the most powerful things about social media is that we interact with people without a filter. Exactly. So we see Americans working 2 jobs and barely making rent. Americans see Europeans go to the doctor and have their biggest worry be their health issue, not how to pay for it. Oh, so true. I wish that was the issue, is that you're just worried about what's wrong and how to fix it, not is this going to bankrupt me. Again, completely broken system in a broken country. I'm in the minority saying that, so I know, it's crazy. Europeans see Americans spending half their lives in their car. Americans see Europeans taking 25 days of vacation and sick days whenever they're sick. Yeah, and again, this kind of is broad, right? I know there's pros and cons, definitely, to a European life, and that can vary greatly, by the way, depending on who you are and where you live. But generally, on at least these issues they're talking about, it does seem to be better on the European side of quality of life versus the average American. All right, these are some of the strongest bubbles I could find. Here we go. Excellent teamwork by Marines. Those aren't even American soldiers. Nobody said they were, and nothing in the video suggested they were. I didn't know other countries' armed forces had Marines specifically. Thanks for the hint. Man, this comment. Wow, did you hear that? I guess Americans invented Marines, and we're the only armed forces on Earth that have Marines. So, unbelievable. Another one of these. I really think I got to start going out and teaching people that time zones exist. Why is this such a hard concept? A 6 a.m. post is crazy. He is from Australia. 10 p.m. in Australia. Very late here. Time zones do exist. Come on, y'all. And finally, we'll end on a couple hilarious posts that show people that are truly the main character. If there are some Americans that suffer from main character syndrome on the world stage, well, can you imagine that there are some Americans that are the main character even here in the U.S.? First of all, you have guys like this. You know, the fires, tragic, right? Fires going on, raging in California, you know, for the past month, it seems like. And, you know, perfect opportunity to post up on the guardrail and get a pic, right? Because nothing like a Billy Badass in front of the wildfire behind. Main character doing a shitty dance in a public restroom. Oh my God, not in a restroom? Oh my God, look at poor Grammy. What's she doing? Look at the look on Grammy's face. She's mortified. Abuela's looking at Mija like, the fuck are you doing? Boy, I guess I've been lucky to not witness that in a public restroom, but boy, oh boy, would that be an interesting experience firsthand. And these main characters are creating havoc in the streets during rush hour, mind you, at a big traffic light, celebrating a wedding. Now, hey, I'm all for making memories, having a good wedding. I get it. It's an important day for a lot of people. But, dude, this is not how you go about it, in my opinion. And by the way, this is, I don't know where, but it says this is in Europe, so it's not in the U.S. So there you go. I leveled the playing field. Main character syndrome and goofballs don't just happen here in the U.S. They happen everywhere, including anywhere in Europe as well. Check it out. Of course, there's no audio with this one, so I'll rewind it. The audio does not seem to work. But yeah, people just stopping, getting out, setting off. I don't know if these are Roman candles, some sort of handheld fireworks. Like, look at the park job here, blocking the whole damn thing. Come on, bro. Whew. All right, I could go on and on. As always, these are absolutely hilarious. I think I'm going to cut it there. Can't wait to see your comments on this one. Although, you know what? I will show a couple comments, and then we'll get out of here, because I like showing comments by you guys because they're hilarious. All right, so shout out to you guys leaving comments, because you could be featured in a video. We have Dead Man Studios. I was talking to a girl online one night before the last U.S. elections, and she asked who I was voting for. I replied, you know I'm Australian, don't you? She said, what? You guys don't get to vote for the world leader? There it is. There it is. A Yellowstone Park ranger once asked, why is it so difficult to have bear-proof trash cans? The answer, Because there is considerable overlap between the smartest bear and the dumbest human. That's good. That's really good. All right, that's going to do it. That was fun. I cannot wait to see you in the comments, and I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you're going to enjoy your weekend as well. My name is Ian. You're watching IWrocker. Until next time, y'all. Catch you later.